It's, yeah.
Right, start and stream, start and stream.
All right.
Pat, you are live.
Welcome everybody. We are here in Casuarina Point, Grand Cayman, and I have just spotted an eagle ray soaring off in the distance.
Oh, nice.
So our cameraman Emil is going to come with me, and we're going to try and find it. And also on the surface today, we have Lauren.
Yes, hi there. So this is a very exciting sighting. We've not really had an experience with an eagle ray properly on diveLIVE.
Oh, it's starting to come close now.
Oh, amazing. I'm really excited. What length would you say this eagle ray was?
Wow, it's very long. It's got a huge tail. I'd say the tail alone is about a metre long.
Really?
And then its body is about another 70 centimetres on top of that.
Wow, we are getting a nice look at that. It is just gracefully swimming right in front of us.
Oh, the cable.
Oh dear. Well, eagle rays are amazing. They're obviously the ray family, closely related to stingrays. So they are made of cartilage. They do have that cartilage skeleton, the same as stingrays and sharks. And their tail can actually reach up to 2 to 3 times the width of the body. So it has a really long tail unless it's not been bitten off by a shark. So is it swam off, Pat?
Yes, it's flapped off
okay.
to the distance. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough cable to stay with it.
Well, let's do that intro again and give people an idea of where you are and what's happening.
Yeah, so, I got carried away in the excitement there. So, I am Pat, I'm your underwater biologist today. We have Emil on camera and Lauren on the surface, and I am at the Devil's Grotto, which is just to the right of Casuarina Point here at Grand Cayman Island. We are on the western side, and I am currently at 11 metres depth, so about 40 feet down.
And it looks like Pat is swimming amongst the snow. It looks like it's literally snowing underwater here in the Grand Cayman. Well, it's not. It just seems like there's a lot of plankton in the water today.
Yes, there's a lot of food stirred up. So plankton is just a loose term that we give to anything that doesn't have the ability to fight the water current. So this can be small bits of algae or small crustaceans or a little larvae or just anything living in the water that doesn't have the ability to fight it. Now, I'm going to be looking through these cracks and crevices, hoping to find a lionfish to show to you, or a moray eel.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. We have Jason asking, is there a reason why you dive so early? And that's a great question. We wake up very early to deliver this dive to you. The reef is generally more active in the morning. It's one of my favorite times to be in the water. The nocturnal fish, so the nighttime fish who have been active all night, are generally going to rest. And those fish that have been resting all night are wakening up, and of course they're hungry, just like me, so they start to feed. So it's like a crossover time between these two different types of fish, and it's very alive, lots happening. That's why we choose to dive so early for you.
Oh, and would you know it, I found what I was looking for here, a lionfish.
A nice one. Yeah, we got a good view of that lionfish sort of hanging upside down under that rock there.
Now, lionfish are an invasive species, so they're not actually supposed to be here, but they are, and despite efforts to remove them, we still get a few on the reef. Thankfully, they're good-looking animals, so we can still appreciate the view of one.
Yeah, they're dangerous beauties. Looks can be deceiving. So that beautiful plumage of what looks like white feathers are actually spines. And they, depending on the species and the size, they can have up to 18 venomous spines on the backside of their body. So they do contain venom, but it is only for self-defense. They do not use them to attack or hunt with. And if you were to get injured by the venom, you would have a very nasty time and probably experience nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and even breathing difficulties. So you must get treated. So these are animals that we appreciate from afar. So can you give us an estimate on size for that one, Pat?
Yeah, so the body length is about 30 centimetres, so just over 10 inches. And its spines, I would say, the pectoral spines that's got flared out now, I reckon each one of those is about 15 centimetres long.
Oh, wow. And these venomous spines can actually still inflict a nasty injury even when the animal is dead. That's how strong they are. And we do talk about lionfish a lot, but they are very strong carnivores. They're big predators, and they do eat a lot of different types of fish and even some crustaceans. But when the food source is actually scarce, lionfish are known to turn on one another, such as cannibalism. So these guys are pretty good predators.
Yes, yes, they're not very fussy about what they will eat at all. So let's move off the lionfish and start moving around the side of this reef here. I'm going to keep, alright, so we'll head back over this way, but I'm going to keep my eyes out for this eagle ray. Hopefully it comes back and gives us a better look at it.
And that would be
a beauty.
That would be great. I think everyone was really hoping to see that eagle ray. Me too.
Yeah, it's not something we frequently see here on diveLIVE, so oh, geez, it'd be good to just have a nice, even just a couple of minutes with one would be enough to show just how graceful and incredible these creatures are.
Well, we have a really interesting question from Jackie. She's asking, are there any poisonous corals, Pat?
Poisonous corals? Yes, so there are. The main one here is the fire coral, which, oh, sorry, Emil's just pointing something out.
Maybe he can show us?
Let's see what Emil has found here. While he's showing you what he's found.
Another lionfish?
Anyway, so back to the corals. So there is the fire coral here on the reefs of Grand Cayman, the plethora, meaning many or thousands of pores. Now this coral is, sorry Emil, can we just come back up here? Get in a better spot. Now, so, back to what I was saying. So plethora, the fire coral, has little hairs that come out of the thousands of little pores that it has in its skin. And what's Emil pointing out now?
He does get a little bit excited, Emil. But while they're having a look, I do believe I have had a brush with fire coral, not intentionally, and it is incredibly painful. You do get quite a sting from it, and your skin can react really badly. So maybe poisonous is not the right word, Jackie, but there is definitely corals that deliver venomous stings, and you can be really injured from them.
Yeah, so I believe that when something is injected and has an effect, they call it venomous. So something that's actually injected. And I think poisonous is the term they give when it just secretes something or releases a chemical that you would inhale or something like that.
Yeah, that is true. And Keremy is asking, is it illegal to touch the corals? So that's a really good question. It's not illegal by law, but it is definitely not encouraged or advised at all for many different reasons. You shouldn't injure the animal. Coral is an animal, even although it may not look like it, and they are incredibly fragile. If we touch it with our hands or even kick it with our fins, you could actually damage the whole colony. So these animals take years and years to grow. So it's really important that we do not interfere or touch in any way. And on the other side of that coin, any coral also do have venomous tiny tentacles in them. So if you do scrape along the coral, as some people might know, you do get quite a painful injury also that can be treated with vinegar.
That is correct. And also here in Grand Cayman, there is a law that you are not allowed to wear gloves when you are diving. Now this might seem a little bit silly, but it actually encourages people not to touch things, because if you have a protective layer over your hand, you're not really worried about what you're touching because it's not going to affect you. But if you do wear them, then you're going to be more inclined to touch things. So by making them illegal to wear here, then you are preventing that need or that desire to touch things.
Yeah, and Richard actually says it feels like stinging nettles, and I can agree with you, but I think it's a little bit worse. But yeah, it's that really stinging feeling. So corals are in the same family as jellyfish, so you can get the idea that they're grouped together because of this stinging cells that they do have inside of them. Now we do have a question about back to the lionfish, because we did see 2 lionfish there, and we do know that it is an invasive species, but Timothy's asking, do they pose any long-term threat to the ecosystem? And they do. Like I mentioned, they're incredibly voracious predators, and one lionfish was actually found with 50 different species of juvenile reef fish in its stomach, and this included the parrotfish. Now, I'll get Pat to point out a parrotfish for you, but parrotfish are key species on this reef, and they're really important herbivores. They take all the algae off the reef, so that's their purpose, that's their function, and it would be really detrimental to lose them.
So there's a parrotfish. Did we see that bright blue one just there?
I think I missed it, but I'm sure there'll be loads you can point out.
Yes,
and there was a study that actually showed lionfish could wipe out up to 80% of the juvenile reef fish on one reef within 5 weeks. So that's definitely a huge threat to the ecosystem. Thank you, Timothy.
Yes, and the fact that the fish that the lionfish are eating are juveniles means that they're not even getting the chance to get to sexual maturity and reproduce. So by taking them out of the ecosystem, there's that kind of trickle-on effect where they're not going to survive to reproduce, and so that's going to not bring numbers down even more, but prevent potential offspring that could have been there had the lionfish not invaded.
Well, Dharma Punk's asking, what's the temperature? I think you forgot to mention that, Pat.
So it is 27 degrees Celsius, which is 80 or 81 degrees Fahrenheit.
So it's nice and warm down there for us, don't worry.
So we have found here a Spanish hogfish. It's carrying something in its mouth right now. Hopefully we can get a look at this.
Not yet.
It's just hidden under this.
Well, Justin was just asking what is the most colourful fish, so that's a really difficult question, but if we do get a sight of this Spanish hogfish, you will see exactly how colourful this one is.
Here we go, so it's coming out now, and it's carrying something in its mouth. Oh, come on, come back out.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, we did get a good view of the fairy basslets though, and they were the really small, bright yellow and purple fish.
So here we go.
Oh, hello there.
Did you see that it's carrying something around in its mouth?
No, we didn't. It was a fleeting sighting.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty well hidden, but here it goes. It comes out here, it's coming out again, but it is being quite elusive. That's alright, let's move on.
It's obviously very busy.
Very curious. I have no idea why it would be carrying around. It looks like a small shell or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There are some more questions about the lionfish, so while Pat is looking, we can definitely answer them. Kermie's asking about policies to destroy the lionfish on the island. And Marcia's asking, are the lionfish natural or were they brought in? So we don't actually know how they arrived here. They are from the Indo-Pacific region, and they're natural animals there, but in the Caribbean they were never supposed to be here. So there is quite a few theories. One of the theories is that they were released by an aquarium, or maybe inexperienced aquarist who just released them back to the ocean because they were unable to handle them. Or there's another theory that they came over with a hurricane. And the third one is that they came in ballast tanks. So we're really not sure how they got here, but they came here, and because they have no predators, they have just reproduced, and continue to reproduce, and now they are completely overpopulated. So there are some reefs off the coast of Florida where you can find 1,000 lionfish in 1 hectare.
That is crazy.
Yes, it is. So Pat, you know more about the policies on the island, on the Cayman, for lionfish. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, so they are removed here by spearfishing. So spearfishing, for anyone who doesn't know, is literally fishing with a spear. So they'll come down in their scuba gear with a spear gun and they'll shoot the lionfish. Now, because they don't want this to be used for that, they want only the lionfish to be speared, then the spears are actually very heavily regulated and you're not actually allowed to bring a spear onto the island. So I believe that it is locals that are allowed to spear the lionfish, but if you are a visitor, you can do a course. And this course allows you to go out and rent a spear and go out spearfishing and get the lionfish and be involved in the culling program.
Yeah, so I think that answers a lot of people's questions, including Beck, who's just asked if there is a plan to eradicate them. So I think that answered that one for you.
Yes, and they are also quite a delicacy as well. So they taste good, and the venom in their spines isn't actually in their flesh. So you can eat them no problem at all, which is a good thing because then the carcass isn't being put to waste. Yeah,
Big Texa was saying they were first introduced to Florida back in the 1970s. I think it was a little bit later than that, maybe the late 1980s. But yes, around about that time is when they arrived in the Caribbean region.
Don't worry, I was going to show you something very cool then, but that's very cool. The fish swam off.
Maybe if you swim a little bit closer to the reef, we might get a better view, because it's quite cloudy there with all that snowy plankton.
Yeah, it is. The visibility is a little bit down today. I mean, it's still sitting at about 20 metres or 70 feet. So it's not too bad, but yeah, it is very cloudy, as Lauren is describing it today.
Well, Virginia is asking about, do corals have skeletons? So that's a really interesting question. So maybe if Emil can point us out to a beautiful hard coral structure, if you can find us a good one. Coral? Pat can definitely describe that for you. Oh, this one's perfect. We have a boulder star coral right in front.
So, sorry, was that about the skeletons of coral?
Do corals have skeletons?
Yes, they most certainly do. So, if you're looking at this star coral right now, we can see that it's got a lot of wart-like polyps, and the polyps are not extended. So they're actually withdrawn at the moment, which is why there's no tentacles sticking out of this coral.
So what Pat means by polyps is just all those little circles that we can see as one individual animal. And yes, the animal is called a polyp.
Yeah, so this is a colony right here. And what each polyp has surrounding it is called the coral light. And this coral light is a calcium carbonate house, more or less, for the polyp. So when it's withdrawn like it is now, it has a protective calcium carbonate skeleton. And so this calcium carbonate skeleton is protecting it and essentially just making sure that the animal isn't affected when it's not sticking out. And so these coralites, or homes, all are connected within this colony and makes up the coral lung, which is essentially just the skeleton. So that's how a coral skeleton is formed, by all of these little coralites linking up together with the polyps and making a colony.
So that was just a loud truck driving past, in case anyone wondered. It's not coming from underwater, it's coming from on land. And love dogs, you are correct. That is your special Cheerio coral.
Yes, I do love that name. So that was a bit of a complex explanation, a bit of a mouthful. So if you do want me to clarify anything at all, if I'm speaking a little too wordy, just ask. Ask a question and I'm happy to clarify anything.
Well, we do have some interesting questions. So Take Care is asking, do corals have a depth limit? And yes, they do. They need sunlight. So you will never find them below 50 meters where the sunlight cannot penetrate. So normally, in general, coral reefs go down to about 30 meters. And this is because you won't find coral where there's no sunlight. And that's hard coral, of course. So Emil's given us another view of a brain coral. And you can see all the intricate detail there with all these meandering valleys. And this is just another different type of hard coral. And the polyps will be situated inside each of these valleys. So Pat, Eloise is asking, does rising ocean acidity pose a threat to the coral reefs?
Sorry, can you please repeat that?
Does the rising ocean acidity pose a threat to the coral reef?
Rising ocean temperatures.
Acidity. pH.
pH. Oh, yes. Most definitely. So, calcium carbonate in the atmosphere dissolves into water. And when this happens, it raises the acidity of the water, meaning its pH drops. So, because calcium carbonate reacts with acids, this is obviously not good. So, it slowly starts dissolving the calcium carbonate skeleton that I was telling you about before. It starts dissolving this away because it reacts with the increased acidity. So, most definitely, it does have an effect on corals.
Yes, it does. And Richard has mentioned about corals being animals and they don't produce energy on their own from the sun. And that's a really interesting comment because the corals do not. They are animals in the same family as jellyfish and sea anemones, but each polyp contains algae. And this algae has a symbiotic relationship with the coral. So they're both dependent on each other, they both get benefits from each other, and they can't really survive without each other. So the coral provides the algae with a safe, sheltered home and direct access to sunlight. And in return, the algae makes its own food from the sun and gives it to the coral. So the coral itself does not make energy from the sun, but the algae inside it does. So it's one of the most important symbiotic relationships in the ocean. And corals get 90% of their daily nutrition from this method.
Now, Emil, if we can get a look at this parrotfish here, it's actually got a remora stuck on its head. So Ooh. It's got a permanently attached cleaning fish.
Oh, yeah, we can see, yes, we can see that. So there's a big parrotfish for you, and it was on its head, but it's now swimming to the side of it is a remora fish.
That is awesome. I've never seen one of these on a parrotfish before.
That is a great find. Remoras are sometimes called shark suckers, and they're normally found on much larger animals, and they kind of suck onto them and take advantage of the free ride. But I've never seen this before. The parrotfish doesn't look too happy.
It doesn't know what to do. So yeah, as Lauren mentioned, they actually suck onto their host and will get a free ride, but they also clean the fish of parasites. So it's like a mobile cleaning station for them.
That is awesome.
Yeah, this is great.
So going back to the coral, KB7 has asked, she's seen black coral thousands of meters deep, and that's correct. Sorry, I should have clarified. It is only hard coral, because that's the one that has a symbiotic relationship with algae that requires sunlight. So you will find soft corals, which don't have the algae and don't need sunlight, much, much, much deeper. Thank you for that clarification. And Pat, Sophie actually requested a nurse shark earlier, so you better find her one. And she's now asking about the face mask fogging up. And that's quite interesting, because it's lovely when we get a nice view of your eyes. Does it ever fog up for you?
No, not for me. I know that the girls have quite a problem with their mask fogging up sometimes, but this mask has been great.
And we do have a beautiful shrimp. If everyone wonders what that colourful animal is with the long antennas, it's a shrimp, and right behind it is a corkscrew anemone. We rarely see this corkscrew anemone. What a great find, Emil.
Yeah, this is great. So a corkscrew anemone, I think, is actually they're not true anemones.
I think people are more interested in this beautiful shrimp. It's kind of dancing for us. Can you see it, Pat?
I cannot see it. Yes, I can see that now.
It is lovely.
So, what type of shrimp is this one?
I am not sure. I can go check for you. Can you tell us what it's doing?
I honestly do not know. I'm at a weird angle right now, so I can't see it too well. Geez, where's Simone when you need her?
She is the expert. It is incredible. Well done, Emil. So shrimps are crustaceans, so they're in the same family as your crabs and your lobster. And this one looks really, really small. I would estimate maybe 20 centimeters. What would you say, Pat?
No, it's smaller than that. From end to end, it's about 10 centimeters. So I'm getting a good look at it now. It is beautiful. It's got those purple arms on it, and I believe purple arms on shrimp signifies that they're a cleaner, right?
Yeah, it is the Pedersen shrimp. Thank you, Simone. It is absolutely gorgeous, and you can see its long antennas there.
Yeah.
Oh, it literally looks like it's dancing for us.
Yeah, it does, and I'm really not sure why it's using this behaviour. I think it must be in a symbiotic relationship with the corkscrew anemone here, because we can see the tentacles are brushing it, and it's not being affected by it. So it must be resistant to the nematosis, or the stinging cells in the anemone. So this will benefit the shrimp, because it will get protection if it stays near the anemone.
Well,
it will sting the other fish that try and attack it.
Well, it looks like it's dancing, and what it's actually doing is saying, hey, everybody, I'm here, and maybe even it's saying that to Emil, we don't know, but it's advertising itself for its cleaning services. So it's telling all the fish and all the animals to come over, and it's ready to clean.
Now, I have seen images of people actually putting their hands out and these fish come and clean them. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to affect it, but yes, that is what their purpose is, to clean other animals.
So P. Hart was asking, was it being attacked by the anemone? And no, it wasn't. It was just two different species. Oh, wow! This is a crustacean dive, massive spiny lobster.
We've gone from one very small to one very large crustacean here.
Now that looked absolutely massive.
That is a big, big spiny lobster. I would say its carapace, or its shell, is about 50 centimetres, so 20 inches, and its antennae is huge. It's about 75 centimetres or 30 inches long.
And look at the colours on it. That is incredible.
Wow, what a find.
So we went from a 10 centimetre shrimp to this. Good find, Emil.
So we could see with that shrimp before and with the lobster here that they both had a hard exoskeleton. Exo meaning outside, so it's an external skeleton. And what this is a calcium carbonate or giant shell that they excrete from the outside. Now, because this is a very hardy structure, they can't grow with it. It stays the same size, and so they have to molt it. So they will actually remove their shell, and then they'll be covered with a very soft mantle. And the shell has to regenerate and grow again. And sometimes this process can take a few days, so it leaves them quite vulnerable to attack.
Yes, it does. And Hilk, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, is asking, do they have the same amount of legs? And they do have 10 legs.
Yes, they are a decapod. Deca meaning 10.
What a great find. Now, there is a theory that was probably produced by the series Friends, for anyone who has watched it. Phoebe announced that lobsters are monogamous and they mate for life. But sadly, this isn't quite so true. So they are serial monogamous. So they do find a mate and they do stay loyal to that mate for some time. But after a while, once the female is fertilized, they do move on and they will find a new mate. So it's not quite as romantic as it was first said on Friends. But normally the male will guard an area like this one here has a small crevice or cave, and the females will come knocking on the door. And they normally do this when they need to shed the exoskeleton, and therefore they will be very vulnerable. So they stay with the male who can protect them and look after them during this time. It looks like it's touching the camera. Is it having a little feel of the camera?
Yeah, so they do use these antennae to sense things and pick things up in the water, and because they're very long, they can use them without bringing anything too close to themselves. Now, sometimes, if you put your hand out in front of them and move it around, you'll actually find the antenna will follow your hand around without actually touching it. And this is because they can also pick up chemical cues. They're quite accustomed to chemical scents, even in really, really tiny concentrations. They are very sensitive to chemicals.
I think a lot of people are thinking that would make a good dinner. But can we have an air check from you? Quite a few people are asking, Pat, so just give us an air check while we're looking at this lobster.
Yeah, sure. So, I am on 100 bar.
Perfect. So we still have lots of time left, hopefully, with this lobster. It's such a great sighting. Oh, are we moving on from it?
We could stay on the lobster if people ask you questions.
Do people, there is a question about, do people eat this type of lobster from love dogs? And I believe they do, yes.
Yes. Fighting lobster is quite commonly eaten here on Grand Cayman Island. And I'm not actually too sure about the ins and outs of the fisheries of the lobsters, or whether it's sustainable or anything like that.
What a great find. I think we don't find lobsters too much. They do tend to come out a lot more at night time, so that was a great find for during the day.
Yes, and it was also strange to see it out of its hiding place. It was almost like it was coming over towards us when we first spotted it, so maybe it thought we were food.
Lois is asking about mammals, and that's a good question regarding predominantly whales and dolphins. There are dolphins around here. I do believe the common ones are spinners and bottlenose, but we haven't seen any, which is a shame. It would be great to bump into a pod of dolphins during the dives.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Oh, Senate.
Senate.
Nice. So that big school of really fast, pointy-looking fish are sennets, and they are related to the barracudas. They're much smaller, and they're always found in schools like this. And it looks like a parrotfish up ahead is being cleaned.
Yeah, so it's just about to point that out. So we can tell it's being cleaned. A, because there's a lot of little fish there cleaning it, but B, it's got its face pointed upwards and its tail pointed downwards.
Yeah, we're getting a perfect view of that.
Yeah, this is great. We usually don't see cleaning happen for very long. It is a pretty quick process when there are small fish like this.
Yeah.
But the bigger animals, they can stay there for quite some time because there's obviously a lot more surface area and therefore a lot more space for parasites to settle on. So with these smaller parrotfish, it's generally a very quick process.
Yeah, so the fish will come up to the cleaning station, and if it has an area that it needs a lot of attention to, maybe it's got an injury or a really bad parasite, it will show the cleaner fish exactly where to go. It will indicate what body part needs attention, and very often the little small cleaner fish are juveniles. So the perfect example is the French angelfish juvenile. They start off their life as cleaners, and they will clean and constantly touch the client, we call them, with their very small pelvic fins. So we saw that parrotfish was being cleaned, and then it obviously had enough and swam away, but it can be really painful for the bigger fish, the clients. If they are having parasites removed, you can sometimes see them flush away because it can be really painful when the cleaner fish pulls out that parasite. And it isn't just a reef fish. Manta rays will come to be cleaned. Lots of the bigger animals will also come to cleaning station because they also need to be cleaned.
Oh, we've got a tarpon cruising through here.
Oh yeah, big tarpon.
So it is. We are quite shallow right now, so it is strange to see one moving away from the grotto. So this is swimming in the opposite direction to the Devil's Grotto. Usually at this time of day, they're swimming towards the Devil's Grotto because they are a nocturnal feeder. And they'll go out and they hunt at night, and then they'll come back and hide in the cave systems during the day. So I think this guy got a little bit lost and he's now heading back home.
He's on his own mission. Can you give us a size there, Pat?
Sorry?
Can you give us a size?
Still couldn't hear you, sorry.
Size estimate. 1 meter, bigger?
Oh, about 80 centimetres, I would say, just under a metre, so about 2 to 3 foot.
Okay, and Kermie asked an interesting question, and we can probably relate it to the tarpon. Do fish see divers as predators? So the tarpon's a perfect example. They will not move. They will be regularly schooling and resting during the day, and they rarely move an inch when you swim by. I think diving is such a strong industry here in the Grand Cayman, and people have been diving for many years, and most of the reef fish here will have been accustomed to divers. They can probably hear you long before you even spot them, so they're aware that you're there, but no, they don't see us as predators.
Yeah, this is only anecdotal evidence, which means that it's not scientific. I have noticed that frequently dive sites, the fauna there, the animals there tend to be a lot more relaxed around divers than at sites that are a bit more remote and don't get dived so much. So, as I said, this is not scientific evidence, but just something that I have noticed personally. Oh, I think we're going to get parrotfish here. Rainbow parrotfish, big one.
Oh yeah. Can't see that too close, but yeah, we see a big fish.
Sorry?
Just while we're swimming over, Richard was asking, do we get manta rays here? Because I didn't mention them. And there has been sightings, but sadly it's not the place for manta rays, which devastates me, as I like to think of myself as a manta princess. Yep, so that was a big parrotfish there, and up ahead...
No, so ahead of us there's a bigger one, so about twice the size of the one that we just saw.
Wow.
So this is, remember the dive site we went to yesterday, Laura, those big parrotfish.
Oh, there's a porcupine fish to the right.
Yes.
Yeah, right up ahead we have a beautiful porcupine fish. Everybody loves a porcupine fish. So you can see it's quite a bulky, bloated, cumbersome swimmer. So they're not known for their agile swimming abilities, but they are famous for all the defense techniques they have against predator, which really reduces the amount of predators they have in the ocean. They can blow themselves up like a big balloon with spines. And their flesh is also very toxic. So you're not really able to eat this fish.
And this toxin is actually produced not by the fish itself, but by a symbiotic relationship with algae. So the algae will be stored inside specialized cells within the body and will actually produce the venom there.
Yes, and it's commonly most found in organs such as the ovaries and the liver. And porcupine fish, can actually be a delicacy in some parts of the world. So there has to be specialized chefs who are actually trained in cooking this so that they can get rid of the toxin.
Yes, they have to be specially licensed, actually. So, yeah.
And how they puff themselves up is they suck in lots of water really, really fast into their stomachs, and that's how they're able to blow themselves up like a balloon. So by being able to suck in water, they can actually spit it out really fast as well. So when they're trying to catch some prey, they have this really unusual technique of spurting jets of water at their prey to confuse them and stun them, and that's how they're able to take their prey, which I find really funny.
That would actually be great to get live on camera.
I know. It's almost like it plays with its food before eating it.
Yeah, it's like the orchids of the killer whales. So I wanted to show everyone this parrotfish, but it seems like it's moved off it. It was absolutely huge, and you could really hear its jaws as it was crunching down on the rock to scrape off the algae.
Well, James was actually asking, do parrotfish stand up to help with digestion? So I think this question came when we saw the parrotfish cleaning. So I don't believe they do. Sometimes I need to stand up to help when I've ate too much, but parrotfish don't need to do that. They literally just scrape the algae off the corals and the rocks, like Pat mentioned. So many people think they're trying to eat the coral, but they're actually not. They're scraping away at the coral to get the algae inside, and they end up swallowing lots of that coral. And for those who know, when coral breaks down, it turns into beautiful white sand. So most times when we look at a parrotfish swimming, you will see it pooping out sand. And this sounds really funny, and it is really funny to watch, but it's actually really important for the beach ecosystem. We need that sand production from parrotfish to replenish the sand levels, as one parrotfish can actually produce up to 90 kg of sand per year from its bottom.
Yes, that is massive. That is incredible just how ecosystems work, how one thing is always linked in with something else, you know. Whoever thought that eating and cooling could produce sand that's so essential to the marine world.
Well, we have your favorite fish, a French angelfish, ahead of us right now.
Yes, we have a beautiful big French angelfish, about the size of a tea plate, this one would be. And we can tell it's a parrotfish, sorry.
Oh no, we've got parrotfish on the brain.
We can tell it's an angelfish for quite a few reasons. So firstly, it's got the big, long, extended dorsal and ventral or top and bottom fins that come out just to where the tail is. Now it's also got lipstick, or a bit of a different coloration around its mouth, and it's got a spine covering its operculum, or its gill covering. So these are three essential identifying features when it comes to angelfish. And now I know it's a French angelfish, the specific species of French angelfish, because it's got a grey body and those yellow tints to its scales.
Yeah, we do find them a lot during our dives, but they're just such interesting fish and they're so beautiful to look at. And it goes back to what I was saying about the cleaning. So when these animals are juveniles, they look completely different. They have different color phases. So when they're born, they will be black, pure black, with 5 thick, bright yellow bars running down the body. So therefore, it actually becomes a cleaner fish. So it takes on this role to live and inhabit the cleaning stations, and its job will be to perform cleaning on various different clients. And then when it gets older, it will leave the duty. But it's a perfect survival technique, because if you're cleaning the fish, many big predators will rarely eat you. It's pretty smart.
Yeah, yes, it's amazing the changes that fish can make between juveniles and adults. And I mean, even in larval phases, some things just look completely different from what you think they are going to turn out to be.
Yeah, even the blue tang, we just had one ahead of us right now. Even the blue tangs are blue, as the name suggests, but when they're juvenile, they're bright yellow. So it makes fish identification quite tricky for us. So can we have another air check, Pat?
Yeah. So I have hit 60 bars, so it's time for me to start making my way back up to the surface and end the dive. But thanks for joining me again this morning. It was a great dive, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Stick around, because at 11 o'clock AM we will have another live dive, and I believe Simone will be taking you down with her. So 11 AM, that's Grand Cayman time. We'll